You know, for decades, the question of Taiwan has been one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. But something's changed. China's military has transformed itself at a really breathtaking pace, building a force that it truly believes is capable of winning. So the question isn't if they're preparing anymore, it's how. And really, is it going to be enough?
Just think about that for a second. 7 minutes. That's the new reality for Taiwan. China's airbases are so close now that the warning time for an attack is literally shorter than the time it takes to call and wait for a taxi. That kind of proximity, well, it changes everything.
So, how do we answer that? I mean, it's not as simple as just counting ships and planes. To really get it, you have to look deeper at 3 huge megastructures that Beijing has been building for the better part of a decade. And they were all designed for one single ultimate test: Taiwan.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the brain. Because before you can build a modern military, you have to completely change the way it thinks. And that is exactly what China set out to do.
And this wasn't just some minor reorganization, not just shuffling papers around. This was a complete revolution in military thinking. The People's Liberation Army, the PLA, they had a realization. Future wars weren't going to be won by masses of ground troops anymore. To even compete, they needed a whole new way of fighting, something faster, smarter, and way more integrated.
And you can see that shift right here. Before 2015, the PLA was dominated by the Army. You had these different regions that were all kind of stuck in their own silos. The new model, it blows that all up. Now there are 5 unified theater commands, where the Army, Navy, Air Force, everyone works for one single commander in that region. The whole thing is built for speed and coordination.
And this right here is the big idea that drove all that change: integrated joint operations. It sounds a bit technical, but what it really means is that the PLA's leadership decided any future war, especially one over Taiwan, would be an all-out fight across every single domain from the very first second. We're talking land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace, all at the same time. The goal is to just overwhelm your opponent from every direction at once.
So, look, if the new theater commands are the new computer hardware, then you can think of this document, the 2020 Joint Operations Guidelines, as the brand new operating system. It's the instruction manual that tells the entire military, from top to bottom, how to think, how to act, and how to fight like one single cohesive machine.
All right, so that's the brain. Now for the second megastructure, the military muscles. Because, let's be honest, a new brain needs new tools to actually carry out its commands. And China has been building some of the most advanced and, frankly, scary military hardware on the planet.
This image gets to a core piece of their strategy. The PLA rocket force is central to what they call forward-edge defense. The whole idea is to use thousands of increasingly accurate missiles to basically create a lethal no-go zone out in the ocean, keeping an enemy's navy as far away from China's coast as possible.
But the muscles aren't just physical things that go boom. The PLA has this core belief that winning in the information space is a prerequisite for winning on the actual battlefield. The goal of what they call effective control is to blind and deafen an enemy, to cut their communications, and make it basically impossible for them to command their own forces.
And what's fascinating is this isn't static. They're constantly tweaking the machine. Back in 2015, they created this big organization called the Strategic Support Force, or SSF, to handle all of this. But just this year, in 2024, they scrapped it and created a new, more focused information support force. They're trying to get even better at weaving network information directly into their joint operations.
Okay, now for our third and final megastructure, and this one might just be the most formidable of all. We're talking about the national backbone. This is all about China's ability to turn the entire country into a war machine.
This is where that concept you hear about, military-civil fusion, really comes to life. The National Defense Mobilization System is this huge, sprawling network designed to basically erase the line between civilian life and military support. It ensures the PLA can call on anything it needs, from bullet trains to civilian ferries, when a war breaks out.
And the scale here is it's staggering. Take a look at this number, 100,000. That's a rough estimate of how many troops China's high-speed rail network could move in just half a day. It's a perfect example of how civilian infrastructure has become a core strategic military asset. You can move an entire army in hours, not days. So this system really does it all. It coordinates planning between the military and civilian sectors, it keeps tabs on strategic resources like fuel and food, it has detailed plans for converting civilian factories for military use, and it manages all the reserve forces. It's the logistical engine that would have to sustain a massive, prolonged conflict.
Okay, so let's put it all together. You've got the rewired brain, the powerful new muscles, and this incredible national backbone. So what happens when this entire machine is put to its one final exam, a Taiwan contingency?
Well, most analysts point to three main strategies, and you can see how each one leans on these megastructures we've been talking about. A naval blockade, that would rely heavily on the naval muscles, but it would have to be sustained by the logistical backbone. A lightning-fast offensive, that would be all about the brains, joint doctrine, using the muscles of missiles and info warfare to win quick. But the big one, a hybrid invasion, would need all three megastructures working in absolute perfect harmony.
A full-scale invasion is, without a doubt, the most complex and dangerous option. An operation like that requires more than just overwhelming force. You need highly specialized equipment like these massive amphibious assault ships, which are basically floating helicopter bases designed to get troops and equipment onto hostile beaches under fire.
But here's the critical thing to remember. An operation on this scale, it can't really be a surprise. You simply can't mobilize hundreds of thousands of troops, all those ships, and all those supplies in secret. It would create so many signals that Taiwan and its partners would almost certainly see it coming months in advance, which gives them precious time to prepare.
And this brings us right back to the very heart of China's military modernization. This quote from a senior PLA general, it says everything. The PLA has staked its entire future on this one belief, that jointness, the seamless integration of all its forces, is the only way to win a modern war. For them, without it, it's not even a real war. So there's no question, China has built an unbelievably sophisticated and powerful military machine. They have systematically re-engineered its brain, its muscles, and its backbone. But it's a machine that, for all its intense training and simulations, remains almost completely untested in the brutal, chaotic, and unpredictable friction of actual combat. And that is the ultimate unanswered question.